All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, I feel like a bird in a cage, man. They done locked me down in this studio. They giving me all kind of rules I got to follow and signals I got to pick up. Pete, I'm feeling kind of tight. I'm going to have to loosen myself up as we go through this show, man. But how you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. I was just telling our producer, boy, when you get them old sports injuries and damp weather come, oh man, it's like that. And then, you and I and him, we got these nice soul hairstyles this morning and everything. You know what I mean? But Clint, I'm coming in this morning, and I come down through because you and I and our producer and Anna, we're all hood people, and people have to understand good hood people are good people that was raised in the neighborhood. I mean, you had your family, and then you had the extended family. And so people always say, well, why you say you're a hood brother? You're doggone right, I'm a hood brother. I love my neighborhoods, even today. And I'm coming down through Lake and everything as they prepare for this 4-year-old girl's funeral today. And man, I wanna be like the Muslims under the old man Elijah Muhammad and say, hey, you know what? We ain't having this in our neighborhood. We gonna protect our kids. They didn't need no white people or what they call white devils. They didn't need none of that stuff. If you mess with little children and elderly people, and particularly elderly mothers and grandmothers, you got a problem. And I'm coming through that today, and then thinking about what happened at this trial in Tampa.
So let's hold for a minute. So let me back up. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a 4-year-old that was killed. Tell us a little bit about the facts of that, Pete. So
all
people
right, here's
out there,
what's happening. If you know the East Hillsborough area of Tampa, where that shooting occurred, it's around 43rd Street up to 40th Street. But the car that you have a mother, a male friend, and a 4-year-old.
Okay.
They're coming down Hillsborough, and then you got a car behind them. Now this car behind them was not a hoopy, a hoopster, whatever. It was a, Infiniti, or whatever the case may be, and they fired into that car. So obviously,
and is there any reason that we understand why the firing took place?
Well, it was a deliberate hit.
Okay.
So on the street, a lot of people saying, hey, it's going to be retaliation and all. But the thing about it, when you look at the mother and her friend that survived, there's no way, the way I think about it, that they cannot have an idea of what went down prior to all of that, or some beef, or whatever the case may be. It wasn't an innocent firing in there.
It was targeted. They were somehow.
Absolutely. Everybody knows that. And law enforcement.
So we got a bunch of things in there to unpack, Pete. The first one is a criminal element such that you target children and women.
I kind of think I'm not sure whether the shooters realized that the 4-year-old was in the backseat.
But they knew there were women in that car.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to tell you something, because I grew up in West Tampa, like you said, and I'll say it the way that it, is recognized within. So I had an older brother, Carl, and let's just say, Carl made sure people didn't bother me.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the tough guy in the family. I was more academically inclined. I mean, and so there would be moments where things would start to happen and get out of control in the neighborhood, and somebody would say, well, you can't pick on Clint with this. Why? Well, he's not a fighter. I said, yeah, you can't come jumping on me. Let me go get my brother. He's the one in the family that handles these things on the street. And then he would come out there and clean it all up. There were like these unofficial rules of who engaged with who. And if you didn't involve with the criminal element, the criminal people didn't bother you. And so that's the first thing that's got me, is that we're in a space where crime is making everybody a potential target and victim.
Well, it's because of the popularity of the thug scene. For an example, what gets me is I see on Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, young guys hardly got milk from around their mouth, prancing and dancing with AR-15s and all like that, stacks of money in their hand and all, and then think nobody else is going to recognize
because
that.
they don't have anything else of value in their life to connect themselves to.
Well, the value is the power that they think they have
Yeah.
to influence the community, and that's why I'm concerned about future black leadership.
I will never define our society by the least of us. That is some of that's you don't measure a household by what's in the garbage. You don't do that. You go inside and see. That's because they getting rid of it. But let me just go back to now where that feeds us into today, because for several shows, Pete, we've talked about what's happening in black communities around this country. This is just a shooting here in Tampa for those listening in, but this is all over the country. You're having violent, and for those of us sitting, I would say not in the mix of those moments, they seem like senseless killings, but the level of frequency and repetitiveness of it and the broadness of it around the country seems it's connected to something.
It's social style, social status. Excuse me, whether we want to admit to it or not, we have allowed this fake social scene, this fake lit scene, this fake making it rain scene, and all that kind of stuff to be the style of the day. So whether it's the 4-year-old here, the one in McDonald's, the whole bit,
right?
And then you see it as a lawyer. We were talking about it before we came on the air about this local case.
Let's talk about that real quick. Okay, for those out there around the country listening in, we're in Tampa, and so it's a Youngblood trial. You want to look it up. If you Google Tampa acquittal, Youngblood brothers, something along those lines. We and the basic facts of that case, to make sure I'm correct on this, Pete, they're on the interstate driving along, and they shoot into another vehicle.
A targeted shooting.
Almost like the 4-year-old, but it's another vehicle, and a witness comes forward. I think it's 2 witnesses that come forward, correct? And they are arrested, and this week we finally had the trial. And what happened in the trial? What happened, Pete?
When it came for the witnesses to testify, including the girlfriend of one of the shooters, who she has a right not to testify against herself. Nobody testified and all, and so based on the testimony, lack of testimony, when the public defender of all people, who very seldom get a direct verdict of acquittal for their clients, that.
What's the mafia movie where the guy won't testify? It's not Scarface, but Tony the Godfather. And suddenly the witness gets him there. He can't remember the facts. He can't testify. So that's kind of what we had here.
And what's interesting in the case, you had, I mean, it was clear cut that everybody knew each other in that shooting.
Right.
And so, and I told people, I said, when you get a direct verdict of acquittal in a case like that, that ought to send a chilling message. Because I'm afraid that what's to stop the alleged defendants, because you can't say they're guilty of anything anymore, what's to stop them from repeating the same type of situation?
Now you're on to something, because this is a sign that crime has reached another level. Because now our criminal system, Pete, depends on witnesses and people testifying. And organized crime has always used intimidating witnesses from testifying as a way of getting off. And oftentimes people say, well, why don't they prosecute so-and-so? Why don't so-and-so go to prison? Well, somebody's pay to visit. Or and so if this works in this case, what's to stop this?
Nothing right now. It's gonna have to kind of burn out, because it's the style. You have to see, the way I look at stuff like that, I look at the whole social scene. When you look at all these networking and social media thing and all, and you see people saying, hey, I saw an Instagram account of a young lady that was bragging about the guy asked her, hey, I need a short 38 or whatever. And she said, well, I can tell you where to go get the 38. And they were talking about right there on 50th Street and Sly. But I had a holster for you, but I threw it away. and so you doing this all over the place, where once it's out there and whatever it is there. But it's a whether we like to admit it or not, it's a social style that will actually mutate more and more until we as a community is say, hey, and I'm not just talking about old G's and old school people in the community, but I'm talking about young people who are in a better position to influence, wake up and say, hey, you know what? That style is over with. Because I go down the street and people will say, hey, you want to buy a gun? Or, hey, man, we got this for you, whatever. Look at it. They ride the bicycles and they ride through all traffic. You hit one of them, they're going to charge you. But then they have a habit of lifting up their undershirt or whatever, showing what they got. Showing what they got.
Now, hold on, Pete.
In the daytime, people go to church and stuff.
Now, hold on with that, Pete, because we had an issue here in Tampa in our last mayoral administration about people stopping bikes and taking guns off people. And now there was an outcry about that from the community, about the nature of that. So we've had issues with stop and frisk and things of that nature, and biking while black and all that. But as the police department said when they ran that, listen, we picked up a lot of guns using that technique.
Well, if you have a young chick riding down the street, barely 15 years old, pull up to you and show you, flash his gun and all like that too. See, you can't have that. You just.
What do you do about? I mean, what do you do about?
I tell you what. I've seen it, and I remind him. First of all, you got to look him in the eye and say, "Hey, bro, you know what?" And then you take out your own gun that you got licensed.
I know you was going there.
Well, yeah, no.
Everybody's that when we in the Wild West. Everybody draws.
No, man, you going down. You going down Hillsborough.
You better than me, man. I'm gonna make a left hand turn, go down to ice cream, get me a turkey leg, and keep on riding.
Well, that's what's happening.
No,
now.
that's not. I'm not.
We can't keep running from that. And like I say, this case here, the trial just ended. And then you think about the 4-year-old, and then I'm thinking about a couple of other cases that people know and know, but among it's in the social status is style.
Well, let me stop for hold on. Let me knock off a couple things in there because I was going, studio producers, I know he's gonna flash me in a minute. Luckily, he's a nice guy, so I won't be bothered about a couple things, Pete, that you're dead wrong on. Let me just tell you one. Underneath all of that, you got some territorial behaviors from these people within this drug industry. That's one of the people, and they police that with these guns, and they fire them off at folks to deal with issues. And sometimes you may have people that are even giving instructions they're going to take care of stuff. That's how they're taking care of it. The other one is the underlying economic piece. If you don't give people hope and something to build and grow towards and a life that they might desire otherwise, they then default into whatever is easiest at hand, and that becomes this criminal element of violence and all this kind of stuff. That's one. And the last one is when people have these harsh lives where there's death and things of that nature, they lose the value of life, and somehow they don't associate when you as Clint Eastwood said, when you kill somebody, you take away all that they aspire to be. All their dreams and aspirations, it all suddenly comes to an end. And I think that's the piece, and that's why law enforcement and remote community leadership can't stop this. It has to stop inside the home.
But I mean, you got there are plenty of jobs out here. There's plenty of jobs young people can create. You cannot make danger a social status style, because there's too many innocent people. And when you, I'm thinking somebody knock off my old lady's daughter. Oh no, man, no.
You got to make a visit,
no.
Pete. You making a visit?
You better believe it. You better believe it, bro.
You gonna make a visit?
And you know what?
Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you.
And I'm in a better position if I die because I made a visit. I don't have to worry about them going to the Florida Central or anywhere, wherever they go and say, hey, we need money to help bury Pete. Because I'm just saying, I know some people going to say, hey, man, I thought you was a project boy. What I am. But you know what?
Man, you ain't no project.
Oh, yeah. 1141 Chestnut.
Oh, there you go. Wait a minute.
Yes,
we going to present 2221 Spruce Street then. Don't do that.
Right.
All right, listen, y'all.
I know we got some other stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to dive into some Biden stuff and this doggone Texas abortion thing. And who's supposed to be getting these third booster shots. I'm all confused with what they're saying out there. We're going to take a quick break, come back on the other side and talk about what's been happening in America. Stay tuned.
Don't miss the first annual Amateur Grillers Cook-Off coming to the Tampa Bay area on Labor Day weekend, September the 5th. Hosted by the Dr. K.C. Patel High School, located at 10721 Rollison Ranch Road, right here in Tampa, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. There will be a $500 cash prize to the best amateur griller. If you feel that you've got the skills, then you need to bring your grill. It doesn't matter how big or how small. You can drive it up, push it up, pull it up, or even let grandma and grandpa help you set it up. Just bring the entire family out and enjoy some of the finest amateur grill meats. Sample the sauce and find out who has the best sauce. Bring your meat and put it on a plate, and let's see if you have what it takes. For vendors information, text 813-965-4456.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecues? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Excuse me, but do this station keep you in touch?
A lot.
How do you like the music?
A lot.
Do they play your favorite songs?
A lot.
And in just 2 words, how do you like the station?
A lot.
There you have it, folks. The moral of the story is our listeners like us
A lot.
in touching you 24/7 on the World Wide Web. We're In Touch Radio.
About it on a serious note. Look, if you're going to get lit, if you're trying the Casamigos versus the Patron challenge and all like that, this is a long holiday weekend. Let somebody else do the driving. Don't drive drunk with your kids in the car. Don't do that. Don't do that. And so we're asking everybody, party responsible.
Right.
And remember that if you're going to party this weekend and you got to go to work Tuesday morning, then you better party on Sunday so you can sober up Monday to get that check on Tuesday.
Right.
And I want to remind Daryl and Tampa Bay Tammy, you know, the publishers and everything of In Touch News and radio and all, give you a hint to think about something. Clint and I would like to do a live remote from the barbecue man in West Virginia, Mr. Clean. So we can work, we can. That's my boy. We can work that out.
Yeah.
All right, but you know as well as I do, the this time holiday season is really dangerous because people will drink and drive.
It always is
can't do
baffled me.
that.
Always. You know, I work in the auto industry, injury industry. I deal with people who are hurt by people involving driving and stuff. And you constantly, people are weaponizing their vehicles by getting in them and driving. In this day and age with Uber and all that kind of stuff, there's so many ways to be responsible out there. And listen, you got 3-4 days of party. You can't get it all in on one day. You know, space it out a little bit. So
no, just chill and
absolutely.
cuddle.
Yeah,
Write your
there you go,
own,
man. There
write
you
your
go. Go ahead
own
on.
song.
Go ahead on.
Or you can do your own version of what that Kanye West Dante or whatever that new thing
You
is.
listen to that?
I listen to all kind of music. I mean,
I have not, man.
just-
I'm like, I've been Oprah free and Kanye free for a while.
you know, and those are talented people, but sometimes you can get full of yourself
Yeah.
and think you didn't get to be where you are without help from others, and then you know how that goes.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so I know y'all tuned. Listen, a couple things happened, Pete, that I think should be interesting. I want to see how Republicans are going to play this thing. The one is the abolishment of the protection. Now, look what word I use. The abolishment of the protections for women's rights under Roe v. Wade seem to have been gone in Texas with this new law.
Well, if you look at the papers this morning, Florida wants to do the new law thing also consideration because they know the Supreme Court is going to be decked to uphold it. I told a woman friend of mine when that Texas thing came out in the Supreme Court I told her on Thursday afternoon, I said, you know what, babe? This is the power of the coalition, the right-wing coalition of Christian evangelicals and all of that. And I said, from not only from a Republican standpoint, but I gave her a situation that if I was a conservative white man,
okay,
with the changes that are going on, voting rights, abortion rights, and all like that, you know what? I'm making a comeback to be king, and I'm making the women to be submissive to me. Now, people, she said, are you crazy? But you got to look at, I look at the whole political social scene. And we got to realize that this country, as I told you before, is moving into a very negative, mean direction. And when you look at the abortion issues, when you look at the, they don't want to do daycare, but they want people to go to work and all. This thing is a power charge, invigorated fact that if I'm a white man, all this is going to help me be back in power.
Well, you hit the key word. Now you said the word. Now the word you said was power, and I've always envisioned most of the things that America has done that discriminates, disenfranchises, all that limits. And if you go back to any of the lot of dynamics of how America's set up, it was about controlling personal control and then monetary control. We're going to restrict where you can buy, where you can go, what you can do, and at the same time, we're going to maintain economic power at the same time. And if you stay in your mindset of I'm subjugated to this authority, and I stay in the mindset that I have the power, everybody plays their role, we'll just go along fine. And that's what we had fought for a long time after Reconstruction and the reimposition of ostracism and suppression of African American rights in America. People went along until the Civil Rights Movement. They kind of duck, and I'll tell you, the thing that blew that thing open was sending those soldiers off the war twice, First World War, Second, and they learned to fight and stand up for themselves and put their lives on the line. And they came back and didn't necessarily go out in the streets, but the spirit of fighting was alive and well now, and the fear of all you can do is kill me at the worst, and you already asked me to die already. So I think in that concept, I put this kind of law as one of trying to remind women you don't have complete control over yourself.
Well, here's the other key thing to that, and I want to look at the producer's face when I say this. I'm a white evangelical Christian male borderline extremist. I got a white wife who understands you submit as what they interpret in the Bible to your husband. So that's one partner I got.
Okay.
I got business partners who want to make money, and they want to be able to do things without saying, hey, I got to hire this person, I got to hire that person. So that's in my corner. Then I got the way the redistricting and everything else coming in that's going to support my view. And then I realized that blacks, gays, young people, they fly by night if it's a photo op or something, but they're not consistent in defending their positions of trying to get shared power or whatever. So it's, I know people are not going to like it, but it's what it is. It's a win-win. So if I'm a white boy, guess what? This is the best time for me to come back in power.
Come back.
Well, who's challenging me?
You said white folks coming? They're going to be coming back out.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you look at the political realities with the social agenda,
yes,
and the liberal. See, the lady that was just appointed to the Supreme Court. Now I'm gonna keep it real. They had her on with her kids and an adopted black female. You saw that, right?
Right. Yes.
All right, but here's the thing about that. If I'm a brother, which I am, from the hood, the first thing I said when I saw that, well, all these black children need adoption in America, why did she have to go out and get a black girl that's not an American?
From another country.
You see, that's a fake play. And you know, good Republicans, we keep it real, and we look at things.
Nobody believes that. Nobody believe Republicans keep it real, Pete.
I'm keeping it real now.
You are. Pete, but that's not the Republicans. Pete is keeping it real.
That's a fake play. And
I get that.
I'll tell you another fake play. You look when they had the Kavanaugh hearings, right?
Okay.
They know he's going to be anti-abortion and all like that. Now, what did he have in the background behind him, supporting him? You didn't see not one black male lawyer.
Correct.
He saw sisters.
Those are his ex-clerks.
Okay, as clerks. So the theory behind that is the sisters that I can fill out that anti-black male. Them the ones I'm gonna pull in my corner.
Wait.
Okay, I'm just saying now. Y'all know you
that's
don't
about
like.
A dot you just connected
That's
there.
going deep,
but
man.
Let me say, because he has said that Kavanaugh had said one of the things he's done of his career is trying to give women opportunities by giving them clerkships. So he's had a predominant number of women. Now there are other guys that had women around them too, but they had them around for other reasons, like Cuomo. His staff was full of women.
Oh, yeah.
We had them for a different reason. But even in that, though, we're in a space now where now these other states are looking at that law. The interesting thing, and just the legal side of it for me, is I struggle with where the third party has standing in abortion. Because let me talk how this law works. It's kind of funky here. Okay, if somebody breaks in my neighbor's house and takes my neighbor's property and hurts my neighbor, I don't have a cause of action against. I can't sue them for what they did to my neighbor, and it's gonna be interesting to see what's the damage to the third party here in the abortion. I'm a third party. I'm a pastor, and I hear about one of my parishioners got an abortion someplace, and I bring a lawsuit against the facility and the person, I assume, who provide. Now the woman, they don't go after her. But they go after the Uber driver, the delivery, whoever was involved in facilitating the abortion. I'm just struggling with what's my damage in that situation, because what do you get? You can't put them in jail, right?
But it's not designed to put you in. What it is designed to break you down mentally. And as I said before, when you look at the totality of the sum total of all the parts, it's part of a trend to move America backwards, where you're going to have a combination of post-Reconstruction and then right after the Depression. And so when you line it all up, those extreme right-wing Republicans and those who are closet extremists, but they sign up as a Democrat because it works. You got racism.
Now, I got I could see the position the Republicans took with the voting rights stuff. It's just a power play. Power fights for power. It just does. And to say that it won't, I'm sorry. If a tree is in your yard and it runs into the sidewalk, there's going to be a battle between the tree and the sidewalk, and we'll see who wins. If the tree wins, the sidewalk comes up. If the tree doesn't win, then it dies off. I'm trying to figure out politically how this plays for Republicans.
Well, it makes good sense, because what we have is a re-energized white woman lawyer to being, and a lot of women not gonna like that, but they lawyer to being second in command. They're all right with that. So,
but they gotta have. But what is it? 70% of black households are led by a single woman. You don't have this kind of massive structure where you have to have women subjugated inside a household. And once women start making after we found out the World War II, they start getting employed, they start making their own money, and brothers roll up with that. You mow no more than I do. You roll up with your game not tight. They're not hearing that.
Well, and then it goes back to what I said all along. This is the 2 years where inconsistency. See, when you inconsistent in seeking shared power or whatever, you fall apart, and that's what you're seeing with the abortion issue. That's what you're seeing with the voting rights issue.
Well, let me back up for a minute, Pete. You try to get away with just throwing stuff out that
I mean, it's for real.
I've never thought Republicans were trying to share power.
No,
they're not trying to share power. They're trying to take power.
Well, no, the extremists are trying to take power.
Well, wait a minute now.
Most people are.
So who passed it? So who passed this law? Republicans or extremists?
On paper, it looks like the Republicans passed it, but I can assure you, with my experience in politics and all, underneath that, there were a whole lot of closet extremists under the Democratic label. You can see it.
Not under the Democratic Republican label.
Well, you can see the division between white women. You can see the division between white women now. That's why they joining up with the evangelicals and all, and falling behind their white husbands and white male governors and all, saying, hey, you know what? I don't mind being submissive in a way. I'm gonna let the man lead.
I do. I don't think that's,
know Daryl's gonna get a lot of comments.
But boy, people.
You don't think a lot of brothers that I know, some brothers that are Democratic, they're scared too, because the sisters have just ignored them.
They scared of child support.
well, but I mean, I'm just saying, I keep it real.
You do. You do. I won't say Republicans do, and they definitely don't want to share power. Listen, I want everybody to stay tuned. Let me give you the call-in numbers: 813-444-9587, 813-444-9587. We're gonna take our break. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna clean up some of what Pete just.
Clean it up while I figure out how I'm gonna get a tattoo like my brother.
Hey, we're gonna match the tattoos, man. All right, we'll be right back.
Get me some plate.
You're not getting any plate.
This is Kevin from Steppin' With a Vision, where I teach the smooth art of Chicago-style stepping. Join me on September 24th and September 25th as I celebrate 40 years of recovery, and I celebrate my 67th birthday. Yes, 2 nights of dancing and dinner. Workshops on Saturday the 25th if you want to learn to dance at 3315 Lemon Street in Tampa, 912 East Fletcher on Saturday. See you there.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-7425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
In Touch Radio, where everybody, and we do mean everybody, is a star. In Touch Radio.
Can of worms you opened up there.
Well, you got it. You know, at the end of the day, and we were talking about it, at the end of the day, you have to see reality not as a fantasy.
Uh-huh.
It is what it is. My dad had this term, regardless of how you hurt and the pain you feel, that if you live through it, all wounds, if they heal, you keep on living. But the scars will remind you how far you come and will remind you what you don't want to repeat.
Absolutely.
And so you use that as an incentive to always improve, and that's what life is all about. And we're in this circle now. As I told you before, from a legal standpoint, don't be surprised that you're going to see rollbacks from the civil rights laws of 65, 68, 64, and so you're seeing a part of it now. And when you look at the makeup of the Supreme Court now, you got a guy like Stephen Breyer. If he was that age and he's not feeling it as a Republican and Trump was in, he would have stepped aside.
But he says he's not gonna. He had already intimated. He didn't say it out loud, but he doesn't expect that he will be part of another in the 2022.
Well, but I mean, it is set up. Who honestly, if the black community was just kept it within ourselves for real. Clarence Thomas is black on the surface and the skin, and he took advantage of affirmative action to get where he's got. But does anybody really believe? And he uses the texture strict.
Let's talk about Clarence for a minute. I'm gonna talk about Clarence for a minute because
he's going back. He's going back everybody else.
All right, so I actually had a great conversation with Clarence Thomas about some of that directly, personally. Sat down and talked with him when we had him as a speaker at Stetson, and we had a fireside chat, and I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with him. And his perspective is if you make special accommodations to advance equality, it takes on an unnatural structure that you then have to continually maintain. But if you don't do that, and in his words, you do it by merit, just by grit, and you just by grinding your way through it, it's going to take you a lot longer. But when you achieve whatever status it is that you needed to achieve, it'll be much more grounded in principles that will uphold the advances you've attained, and you won't be at risk of losing them so easily. Now, I mean, that's an academic and elitist way of maybe looking at it. But like you said, because of the way that certain rights and things were gained for black folks in America, you're constantly having to fight for the rules to maintain that, or you lose it. And this abortion law brings that to clarity. But this is something, Pete, I just don't understand on the Republican side. Where are you getting more votes by passing something of that kind of a law?
Well, the reason why, if I'm Governor Abbott, if I'm the DeSantis or whatever, okay, politically, it's to my advantage to pass laws like that or act like we need laws passed like that, even if I know from a legal standpoint and a president's standpoint that it's not going to hold water. Why is it to
you mean legally long term?
Legally long term. Why is it to my advantage? Well, the advantage is I keep my base. The advantage is that I know within my base there are younger kids who are going to be becoming eligible to vote and all like that. That base is going to indoctrinate them into what I feel and their parents feel.
But young people tend to be more liberal in support.
I think that's changing.
And here's the other problem in Texas. People are moving from California, liberal, to Texas, and they're coming from New York to Texas.
But it doesn't mean that they're going to be liberal. I'll give you a good example of that. If you go up to where the villages are.
Okay.
When they were first planning the villages, it was a struggle. They didn't want that to be in that area because that's considered a real conservative area. When you go into the villages, initially, they didn't even want to hire young people. They didn't even want a high school in that area, okay, the way it's set up. Now, if you look at a lot of the people that live in the villages now, they're union retirees.
Well, hold on. But we've always had we
got our money, and now we're going to. But
we've always had a culture of retirement people from the Northeast moving down to Florida. I think this was a bad play for Republicans. Listen, and we'll talk about Joe Biden in a minute. I thought this week Joe Biden was looking weak. You had the whole Afghanistan thing, which we're going to put behind us. People are getting worried about this whole third vaccine and whether science backs it up and all that. And he was kind of getting foot. And then they throw him this thing that unified the Democratic Party.
But we don't vote. See, it's more
when
talking.
You say, yes, we do vote. That's why Biden is in office.
Listen, all we have to do is wait Biden out. Who's going to take his place?
Biden.
If you look at what's going on within the Democratic Party, even in Congress, you got AOC, you got the blood.
Don't be distracted. That's a Republican distraction. But okay, when George Bush was in office, nobody could see Barack Obama yet. He came fresh. There may be people that we're not considering right now that could emerge. And to say that we've always in America had great leadership emerge for the moment, except for Donald Trump. I'm going to put him aside. So I'm not so worried because right now I can't tell you who should be the next person. I really can't tell you who that person should be on the Republican side either. There's some kooks out there that's circulating.
I can tell you this here from a historical standpoint, as far as presidency go and the potential to be presidency. We had a black woman who had a good opportunity, just the timing was off. That was Shirley Chisholm. So she represented the black female.
Uh-huh.
Barack Obama on the surface represented the strength of a black male, but when you look at a lot of his appointments and all for judges and all,
you just can't. You can't just.
I mean, I'm just saying. So
right.
I'm telling everybody.
That's one area. That's
I'm
one
telling
area.
everybody on Facebook and all. In the next 20 years, you may have a white female president, but the day of having a black female president or the day of having another black male president, you won't have that for another 30 years.
You're going to get, watch me, I'm going to tell you what you're going to get. I don't think so. I think you're going to get a black female Republican president before you get a white female president. Unless,
well, you may, but it'll be 20 years out because, see, it's easy for me as a Republican if I'm really extreme conservative, extreme right. It's easy for me to sit back and let the Biden-led Democratic Party tear themselves up with
okay, all right, there you
fight.
Go. Now you
know
went
what
too far.
I mean?
Now you went too far.
So all I got to do is sit back and let y'all.
All right, hold on. All right,
I
then
mean, I'm just saying.
Let's go to that.
Now,
then.
I said if I was a white extremist Republican, make sure I said that right.
So let's go to Biden right now because you want to throw Biden in. Let's throw Biden in. So he's had a rough couple months. He's happy with September because August with the whole Afghan thing was a tough month for him. He's back on domestic issues again with the New Orleans floods and the abortion law, and we will quickly forget about what's happening in Afghanistan. So long as the Taliban don't behead an American and put it on TV. Long as we don't see anything coming, and according to them, they've got caseworkers now trying to figure out how to get people out. We'll leave that where it is. So, but Biden was struggling this week, I thought, on a number of fronts. You know, so it started to make him look like the concerned and weak president that people.
I mean, his own people set him up. So I said in the beginning, if you really look at the structure of political, the contendrum or the whatever you call it, continuum of it, Biden is really 40 years ago. He's the same now. He would really be labeled a moderate Republican.
Okay.
And once the mid-year elections come in, he's going to be even weaker. Not so much from the known opposition of the Republican unified in opposition of him, but you know what's going to weaken Biden? His own people, because if you look at the Democratic Senate, they can't see eye to eye on anything. And so it makes it easy for those of us who are Republican and conservative extremists. All we got to do is keep our base, drop a little dime here and there, and just wait.
Listen, I don't know
what did your grandmama used to say? You wait your enemies out, and they become your footstool. So
okay, but
the
implication there is somehow the Republicans are more organized or cohesive. You just gave the Democrats an agenda to run on. You gave them voting rights and abortion.
Well,
classic fighting issues. I think the suburban women now that you want that put Biden in office, they're not gonna.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
And I'll say this though, there also is the Republicans have to come up with somebody who's more electable than Biden. Biden got elected not because of who he is, because of who Trump was. And I think whoever the Republicans bring forward, the first thing they have to be is they got to go kiss the ring and prove they're a Trumpite. And if they're not a Trumpite or a Trumper, they can't get out of the primaries. And that's going to turn off that, you can't go tell suburban women, listen, we're going to pass more abortion restriction laws. You can't run on that nationwide.
Suburban women will hold their nose and allow that to happen if they think it's going to affect their power structure of white suburban women.
Well,
decrease in power.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Well, think about what does it do? What community you think has been most impacted? Well, my thoughts are the African American community has been most impacted by abortions because
right,
more.
But we don't vote. We
do vote. We voted in Obama. We voted in Biden. What do you mean we don't vote?
All right. So when we get the discussion again, and you say OG Pete was right, hey, keep it real. We'll see you next week.
No, we're gonna take one.
We got another thing.
I got more stuff coming.
Okay, go ahead, man.
You don't get out the trap that easy. You don't get out.
Hey, listen here, bro. Listen, black men all over the country, take care of your women, your daughters.
We're gonna talk. Let's talk about that after this break.
We'll be right back. Let's take a break. Right back. I was ready to sing Pretty Moon.
Go ahead.
Jacobs Production, in partnership with Trinity City of Praise and the African American Family Institute, presents a musical play, 10 Boys and One Girl, coming soon to the David A. Strands Jr. Center for the Performing Arts, 1010 North Mercedes Place, Tampa, Florida, September the 18th, 2021. 2 p.m. matinee show, 7:30 p.m. late show, $25 general seating, VIP seating $50. You don't want to miss this powerful performance, a story of a man and woman raising 10 boys, 1 girl, through trial and obstacles. With resilience, faith, and love, they made it. Directed by Nate Jacobs of the West Coast Black Theater Troupe. Musical director Dave Von Jameson of Jacksonville, Florida. Tickets can be found at the Strand Center box office. For more information, call 813-229-7827. 10 boys, 1 girl, family strong.
Listen to In Touch Radio anywhere. On your phone.
I'm listening right now, man.
In your car.
I'll keep that going.
On your computer. It's a new world, baby, and we are global. In Touch Radio.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
All right, Pete, we back live for this last session. You're trying to get out here early. I know you got some commitments out there. And listen, one of the horrible things that
we got to sign up new people for the younger Republican Party, where we can get a balance of ideas. Whether we realize it or not, Clint, if you look at some of the conservative Republican ideas, true conservatism, the black community has always been like that.
I think if you match those up, but I just don't know. And I'll let's just talk about this for a second. I want to just, I had previously wanted to talk about a little bit about it, but think about Pete. I don't know what can you go out as a Republican and say to attract someone to say, yeah, I want to be a part of that under the current way that it looks now.
You can. Here's how you do that. You go to the African American males who are restarting their version of Black Wall Street. That's number one. Number two, I would go out.
The Negroes who think they'd have made it?
No.
That crowd?
No, not that crowd. But I would go to those who not only want a strong black business district, a strong Black Wall Street type of concept, a strong black tech world concept.
But you don't get any of that in anything coming out of action. When I think Republicans, I think of bombastic kooks like Donald Trump. I think of stopping voting rights. I think of limiting women's decisions over their bodies. I think of holding up Confederate imagery and symbolism in this country. These economic things you're talking about, I never see or hear about these things. In any of the things hold on for a minute. In any of the things that Republicans put forward, like we're going to promote and help you get your business up and operational.
Well, I think you're going to see more of that, Clint. I think what's happening when I talk to young people, and what I tell people to do all the time, you know what? Go out, fast food joints, malls or whatever, Brandon Mall, Citrus Mall, whatever. Sit around and just listen to young people talk. Some of the most creative ideas of balance I hear from young people, whether it's at band practice or the mall or you stop and ask them. They will give you a clear-cut opinion of where they think the country should go. And what they look at it as a facet of people, whether you're Hispanic, black, gay, white, whatever the case may be. So you see it slowly building. the way our children connect with each other on campuses. You can go to a white campus, you can go to a black campus, you can look at some of the high schools here, and you monitor their thinking in some of their chat rooms and all. So I'm thinking it's going to take, this is 2021, I'm thinking the year 2028, you will have a new balance, if we're going to save this country, of Republicans who have peeled off from balanced Democrats, but more so have peeled off from independence. And that's why the young people, your daughter and your son, when they get it, that's why we need them, because they're more broadly thinking.
But you're right about that, because I was at something, and there was a boy hanging out with some other boys, and it was clear to me the one boy was very effeminate. He had on eyeliner.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought to myself, back in my day, he could not walk nowhere near my crew. Not that we had anything against him, but you're not hanging out with us. Very inclusive of differences, culturally, sexual orientation, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know that has any attraction. The Republican Party doesn't come off as inclusive to differences.
I tell you what, you know what? They just don't show it openly. For an example, the Republican Party has had a gay part of it, the log cabin Republicans. They've always had that. People have known.
I know they've got it, but I just know that's
well,
it's not promoted.
It's not to our advantage now, because why should we have to expose all our weapons to win when we see the opposition self-destructing? I mean, you think about it. Even within the black culture, do you know how divisive it is now? The struggle between true black men that want a sister to be, want to share power with a sister, but want to lead, and then they see this constant thing. Government and the power structure is going to use black women, but then they see black women as they take advantage of the power structure and wanting them to be more upfront. They ostracize and they ignore black brothers.
Well, I'm not letting people. Okay, Pete. No, you can't get away with that. Listen,
how can you not see it?
I think about this all the time when I'm on these committees I serve on and we're at events. The door at the front is open to whoever walks in, but a bunch of brothers not walking in that room. When I'm at these meetings and I'm at these things that go on that are happening in this community, they down at the coffee shop having coffee, sitting around, and then they leave and go someplace secretive like snakes or something. But they're not walking in those meetings where people are fighting. You have one or two leaders, but those rooms are made up majority of women.
Well, because we have been sold on the fact that, falsely sold, that if a sister leads it, then it's better off for our kids. If a sister leads it, then maybe they can squeeze you in. That's a false premise.
I mean, the majority of that, I just say that, I was up dropping my daughter at FAMU this couple weeks ago, and I was just stunned at the number of moms up there trying to carry all that stuff. I just was sitting there going,
well, the brothers should have been up there.
They should have been, but they weren't. They didn't make money to pay for it. You had to pay for it.
Yeah, how about the college brothers that's on the campus?
Okay, so we drifted away from talking about Biden a little bit.
He's through.
It's not through. Okay, so you're saying that he's not going to get his legislation.
His whole agenda. If you look at what Joe Manchin came out, look. Do you not listen? Even though people on Medicare needs dental coverage,
West Virginia is a welfare state. It is one of the poorest states behind Mississippi, with the lowest income and some of the highest costs for everything, for medical care and things because of the coal mines. Joe Manchin needs that bill to pass. He needs bridges built. He needs all kind of infrastructure up there.
Biden's agenda is through not because of Republican opposition, is through because of opposition within his caucus.
They just got to throw them some gravy. That's all. How this stuff works.
Look at the black guy. The black gay guy that knocked off the longtime Democratic guy from New York. Now, if you research his background before he got elected, he had a little bit more balanced approach. Even though it was progressive, but it was a little bit balanced with reality. Now this joker
Yeah,
now,
but
take him.
Yeah, but that look.
All
look,
right, take him and compare him to the black man that's coming in to be mayor of New York,
Right.
Eric Adams.
Got stay for a minute, right? Now, okay, now, and that's let's. Here's what that legislation is about. That legislation is about pork, Pete. That's all that's about. If all they doing is checking boxes, okay, did you get the bridge you want in your? Okay, good, you good. All that says to me is anybody who's saying I'm opposed to this hadn't got their piece of the pie yet. That's all.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And they're gonna slowly check it off.
Hear me out there, listening world. I need to
mark this tape.
Yeah, mark this tape, but also go online and read Untouched News. And did you see the edition? This?
Yeah, man, that's spectacular.
I could imagine my
public surprises are coming. Now, there's going to be some recognition for that article.
So, but anyway, it's over for the Democratic Party because of self-destruction. It's over.
Are you joking me? You guys you still. I don't know where this comes from, Pete. I would not doubt that there are issues in the Republican Party. Afghanistan distracted Joe Biden and took a little bit of his momentum. I think he's going to be back on track now. The legislation, it is going to be passed. The unifying factor now between the Democrats is going to be this abortion threat across the South, across the country.
It won't happen.
And Trump reasserting himself for no good reason except to promote people like Herschel Walker.
It won't happen. And even with all the baggage Herschel got, he's gonna win.
He can't win. He's got all these domestic assault issues and mental health issues.
Look, what did Malcolm X say? By any means necessary. And as far as the base of the Republican Party and Herschel being a star, and once he was able to cross over like Clarence Thomas, and then really
Clarence Thomas can't win an election.
Well,
the numbers aren't there.
No, but look, once Herschel was able to cross over into that other world, and then go against that other world, never stepped out about civil rights or anything, that made him a king within that world. That's why he's gonna win.
I think the Democrat.
Herschel Walker will win by at least 3
points. Well, go ahead and you close this.
All right, so we're gonna be again. I don't know where we're going today. Daryl, did he send any food over today? Let us know, Daryl, what you're doing later. We'll come out there. But don't forget next week to see us again, and we want to hear your comments. Just tell us, hey, I don't like this new look, bald-headed, sweet Pete because he's a Republican. I'm all right with that. And we'll go out, have a date or something and talk it over, all politics, no business otherwise. And you'll find out that, hey, you know what? He speaks more truth to power than some of the black leadership that you all have elected that have faked it like they for you, and then once they get in office, you don't see them. All right, Clint, I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you back.
And let me wave to the camera. Yes, it is me. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Boy, Pete, you a man.
This is Kevin from Stepping with a Vision, where I teach the smooth art of Chicago-style stepping. Join me on September 24th and September 25th as I celebrate 40 years of recovery, and I celebrate my 67th birthday. Yes, 2 nights of dancing and dinner. Workshops on Saturday the 25th if you want to learn to dance at 3315 Lemon Street in Tampa, 912 East Fletcher on Saturday. See you there.